Hello. I think we're live. I think so. Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Trups LP, and welcome to another one day late version of the political recap. Uh, with me, as always, is my co-host for this week, Omegon. Say hello, Omegon.
Hi.
Yes, hi. How is Omegon?
I'm alright. Yeah. Bit worn out. Looking forward to some sleep tonight, so won't be staying up too late today. Been a
Understood.
busy couple of days.
I will warn everyone in the chat, both Meg and I, in separate parts of the world, are experiencing a thunderstorm at the same time.
Yes.
So,
Illuminati confirmed.
apologize in advance.
Yeah, sorry about that. If it does happen on mine, to be honest, it would just kill the internet. So you won't actually, you won't know. You'll only notice the stream's over.
Right. You'll notice from me large explosions from the sky. Typical though, really, from where I live. The sultry sounds of the south include thunder. You know, it's just normal.
What was it?
Apparently.
I didn't know that. What's Trups been up to anyway?
Trups has not been up to much. I have barely been keeping track of the news. It's kind of extremely tiresome.
Mm-hmm.
More or less, it's become tiresome simply because it's such bullshit, right? Like it's not just a little bullshit; it's a lot bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So much that I would have to fundamentally dismantle every single thing they said with video of all of it, plus the work that it would take to undo the stupid that the media has pushed forward in the last week would take more time than if they just said, oops, I was wrong.
I really wish that they would say, oops, I'm wrong, just once every so often. It's quite a nice feeling. We don't get it often enough.
At least it would show a bit of self-awareness.
It would.
But perhaps I'm too hopeful.
Too much.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
But other than that, what have you been up to this week?
Well, I went fishing yesterday from about 3 p.m. till midnight. Walked back to my sister's. That took 2 hours. Slept on a sofa. Lost my watch, which is at her place. So hope I'll remember my sister when she takes the other sister back home to get it.
It should be about 5:30 your time.
Yes. Thank you. I spent most of today building a kids climbing frame in our garden with my father and a friend of the family. We did not complete it because the rain said, fuck you. So I went inside and opened a parcel that had been sent to me, that had been delivered to the house. It went somewhere else first and sent here. And it was from someone called Tede. Last year, Tede sent me 2 cloned guitar pedals. One was called Tentacle Seducer, and that was a clone pedal of a Steel Panther Pussy Melter pedal. Well, he sent me 6 pedals this time, all of them with various ways of praising my name, but also a redone version of the Tentacle Seducer, which is quite cool. We got the Meg O. I actually think that's a it looks more like a multi-effects pedal, but I'd have to check. So it has an octave, distortion, filter. It has a few other bits: boost, bypass. You got the Omega Drive, which is an overdrive pedal. You have the Commander Mego bit, and I haven't got a clue what it is, but I will work that out. It has some rather fancy buttons. And the Omega Cast, which is a gain pedal, which I think is quite cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any loop?
It's
a little bit more of a.
That might be on the Commando Mega bit pedal or on multi effects. I couldn't tell you because I don't.
There's a really cool. You've always seen videos of street performers, and they'll loop on their own riffs. Man, that is one of the most satisfying things to watch for me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it's because none of it isn't them.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you see them basically rocking out to literally their own shit, I'm like, yes, bro, cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And I'm very grateful these were sent. I won't be able to test them until maybe tomorrow. I've got a few things I need to do first. I wasn't able to, because of the rain, I wasn't able to go for a bike ride, so I might do that tomorrow. But I also have patron VCs to deal with, to attend. Deal with. That sounds like a chore. No, go to. And a few other little things I need to take care of.
Oh, by the way, so quick little news update. Besides the Oregon riots and protests,
Okay.
so Nick Sandmann, he CNN settled for 250 mil.
Wait, hang on. Isn't that the kid?
Yeah, the one who the Covington kid with the MAGA hat.
They settled for that kid's
for 250 million.
He's yes.
So before we get into death, destruction, and lies, I wanted to point out that justice has come at least somewhere.
CNN, you're gonna get called fake news for a while, and rightly so. I'll be honest. 250 mil. I'm sure they have lots of money to spend, splooge about. But I'll be honest, that's a settlement.
I believe it was actually. I'm sorry, I was incorrect. Covington settles defamation suit with the Washington Post. My apologies. CNN reported it. I apologize.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's a shame. The kid should get some of that money.
Yeah.
They
settled a similar lawsuit with CNN earlier this year. Okay, fair enough.
All right. Well, I don't care. CNN lose money. It's all good.
CNN and WAPO. Go them. Go team.
Yay. I'm so happy right now. Maybe this will push more people towards alternate media.
Now, realistically, I don't think the 250 million is literally what he got out of it. I'm sure they got a smaller settlement.
Hey, it could be what? It could be a few zeros less. It's still a lot of money.
Yeah, right? Like, I don't even care about two. Fuck it, I'll take 250,000. Fuck it. We'll cut an entire 3 zeros off. I'll be happy. Maybe not in his case. He was kind of vilified, like, nationwide.
It might impact his future career prospects. That might be where they're going with that.
Honestly, probably true. Unlike what's his face, the Stoneman Douglas kid. What the fuck was his name?
I don't know.
David something.
I'm really bad with names.
Whatever. The little shit who went off about the NRA and then faded into obscurity when the media no longer needed him.
Oh, the school shooting kid.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, I'm not even going to bother remembering his name. I know you're talking about, though.
He's not important. He literally was never important. But yeah, I wanted to point that one out before we got into the rest of it.
David Hogg. That's what the chat said.
That's right. David
no wonder
Hogg.
we forgot. I was thinking, by the way, I had Dobrik stuck in my head, and I was like, no, I'm pretty sure it doesn't. No, I'm pretty sure.
The only David I have in my head was David Dorn, and I'm like, nope, he's not a black police officer who was killed during the riots. Nope.
Right. Okay, that's fair. Where do we go from this?
Well, I guess we can roll straight up into the protests, or we can talk about a little bit about how UK, anything interesting going on, like just
honestly, no
2-minute review.
Okay, let me just quickly go and pull up a highly reputed source. There's some royal family nonsense going on, but no one really cares. There's some nonsense about what was it, about coronavirus in Spain. You have to have a 2-week lockdown. Corbyn is apparently his own he's destroying his own Corbynista movement, even though there's no proof of that. PMQs was another crock of crap, so I haven't covered it. And no, Brexit's still being nonsense. I'll do more of that on Monday. Yeah. But apparently,
Regis Philbin is dead.
Who?
Regis, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
I don't know who that is.
He was also on Good Morning America.
Oh, okay. These are shows I wouldn't watch in this country, would I?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he did. He did live with Regis, first with Kathy Lee Gifford, and then Kelly Ripa. And apparently he passed away today. Boo.
F. I forgot about Corbyn too, to be honest, but there are some bits here and there that crop up about him. But in truth, it's just not. I don't know. It's just not relevant. Oh, the compulsory mask thing to wear in shops came into effect on Friday. I had to wear it in a butcher's. That was annoying because they didn't hear a word I said, so I just had to go point and grunt. I would literally point at the sausages and go, ugh! Sorry about the ear abuse. I didn't even say that one because they wouldn't understand the words. It was grunt. I went into a one-stop shop this morning, and I had to put on a mask. It's on my desk here. It's a piece of crap. And I noticed when I went in, all the, say, my age and younger were wearing the face masks, but the pensioners, not a single one were. They were just stood there coughing and spluttering, and I'm like, I feel like you're doing this to piss with me. Like, just to be a dick. I don't know. It's such a stupid idea. Yeah. So that came into effect, and some shops have already said they're not going to enforce it. My corner shop, I went in there earlier. They didn't make me wear it. Which
we have a similar thing going on. Like for us, it's actually been like cities that have been saying, like city ordinances saying that in this town we would like you to wear a mask if you go into any business. And I'm like, okay,
yeah,
like I approve of that better than a governor compelling everybody to do it. It's much more down to like the thing that we had talked about, like I think it was maybe 4 weeks ago, saying that why don't individual places handle themselves? Yeah, here we go.
Oh, everything went dead there for a second. Didn't expect you to stop all of a sudden. My apologies.
Mm. All right, so why don't we go into the riots and the protests?
Sure. There is a rather cool site that has a timeline based on every day up until the 21st, which is quite handy. So everyone, obviously, for the most part, this is all attributed back to one event concerning Mr. Floyd and his murder. Like Portland initially released a statement. Their chief, I don't know if you say Jami Raish or Yami, Jami, a statement saying that the actions and tactics displayed in the video of the kneeling on the neck do not represent our profession's values and are contrary to our fundamental duty to protect and serve. And that was while there were protests outside the Multnomah County Justice Center. I don't know how to pronounce that word. Which is what building that houses the county jail along with the Portland Police headquarters. I know that the mayor, what's that mayor's name? Ted Wheeler. That's it.
Wheeler.
Yeah. He declared on a state of emergency and went on to announce a citywide 8 p.m. curfew. I hate curfews. A large protest
They work so well, though.
Yeah, they do. There was a protest at the Justice Center that turned ugly. More businesses then got looted. There was a picture I saw on my server, I think. It was one that said they stood up for Black Lives Matter and all these other things, and their windows were caved in. I thought that was...
Yeah, they had a poster out in front that said, like, we are anti-racism, and, like, it's bad, okay.
Yeah.
And then, like, all their shit was broken. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad the protesters read your sign.
If I was quick, I would have put that in the reel of pictures. I've only got 13 there, so I'm sorry if you see much of all of it looping. I'm new to using this kind of transition slide. So the Justice Center was broken into and set on fire. Several businesses, including an Apple store, understandably are looted. Police declare a riot and only arrest 13 people. That's a big riot. The protest that happened the day after, when the mayor declared a state of emergency, ended after the police tear gassed the crowd, with 51 people being arrested. I like here it also references illegal fires being set. I'll be honest, in the context of a protest, it's always illegal. You don't need to reference it as illegal. On the 31st of May, thousands of protesters downtown and in Laurelhurst Park clash outside the Justice Centre with windows being broken at the federal courthouse. Police again deploy tear gas. And I knew about the tear gas stuff because that got referenced a few times. Like, it's mentioned over and over and over again about the use of it when dealing with rioters. Not peaceful protesters, rioters. Because there is an obvious difference, and I think many have jumped on it and said, "Oh, there's never a good enough reason." Well,
I was going to say, we in the United States, we have other methods of handling riots. Tear gas is the nicest.
I'll be honest. If you're getting tear gas, it's not nice.
Like, that's already pretty bad, and like we're talking about, like, we're handling riots, right? Like, we've already descended into the point of violence. We've already descended to the point of like destruction of property, all that stuff. The United States has a multitude of methods to handle such things. Tear gas and flashbangs are used as a deterrent, or kind of like how you would scare away, some kind of feral animal from your property. It's meant to deter them and to make them say, perhaps I want to go home. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, maybe this isn't worth it, without actually harming them. The problem is, some people decide, nah, I'm a badass, I'm gonna stay. And we're not allowed to really even apprehend people in Portland, so that's a thing.
Yeah, your police are British. Your police are British.
Yes, right.
On June the 1st, what's his name? Ted Wheeler and the Oregon top federal prosecutor, U.S. Attorney Bill Williams, asked the governor, Kate Brown, to bring the Oregon National Guard, with Tim Wheeler saying, "We need help, we need more bodies to stop this senseless violence." With Bill Williams warning that of organised efforts aiming at creating chaos, and Kate Brown deciding, "Fuck you, you ain't getting the guard." Yeah. So, on the Burnside Bridge the day after, thousands of people march peacefully and lie down for a, air quotes, die-in on the Burnside Bridge. That reminds me of an art exhibit that someone did on one of the London bridges somewhere. And they laid across this bridge naked as a piece of art. I'm like, that's not art. That's unhygienic. On 2 days later, the Portland...
Hold on, wait.
Go on.
Just remind me, chat and Meg, I want to mention the naked Athena in Portland. Moving on.
Okay. On June 4th, the Portland Trailblazers' Damian Lillard joins a protest march across the Morrison Bridge. Portland Public School Superintendent Guadalupe Guerrero announces that the district will no longer employ school resource officers provided by the Portland Police Bureau. I'm going to use PPB for them from now on because it does reference later, and I didn't know what it stood for until I got there. There's a name replaced, a lieutenant. Hang on, Resch. R-E-S-C-H. Who is that person? Let's check up earlier because I'm pretty sure... Oh, yeah. The police chief, Jamie Resch, steps down on the 8th of June, so 11 days after he issued a statement about the situation, who was then replaced by Chuck Lavelle, not Liddell. Shame. Person who had been a lieutenant and described Resch as the exact right person at the exact right moment. Apparently that's not correct because they got replaced. Yeah. On the June 9th, in response to a lawsuit filed on behalf of two protesters, the U.S. District Judge Marco Hernandez issues a restraining order, a temporary one, against the city of Portland and Multnomah County, prohibiting the use of tear gas unless lives are at risk. So, what do you think about the idea of prohibiting the use of tear gas?
I think that the prohibiting tear gas is really tying the hands of law enforcement, especially because you've already tied their hands when it comes to, well, most everything else in terms of law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, with the banning of most any physical confrontation that a police officer could have with a person breaking the law,
Yeah.
they've really kind of fucked them over.
Yeah. No, I fully agree with you on that. It's actually quite tragic. Continuing on from that, this is actually 8 days later, June 17th, the Portland City Council approves a budget cut for the PPB, which would include $27 million. $15 million of that comes from 4, air quotes, controversial tactical units. But that wasn't really enough for the activists. They wanted cuts of $50 million. But I think if I remember correctly, a lot of that was because they wanted it invested in black communities.
Oh, you mean the ones that burned down? Oh, yeah, okay.
Unironically with this, yeah.
I have to mention it, unfortunately, because
It's all good.
unfortunately the media has gone on for so long that they'll keep using these buzzwords as long as nobody calls them out on it. So I'm sick of it.
Honestly, there's nothing wrong with calling it out at this point. On June the 19th, 2 days later, thousands marched to celebrate the Juneteenth holiday. I have no idea what that is.
It's the commemoration of the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation.
Thank you. I'm English. That's not something I'm aware of.
That's all right. We did it too. You guys freed slaves. We freed slaves. All the same.
Yeah. Some shut down the southbound 1 to 5 on the interstate bridge, or I to 5.
I-5.
Thank you.
Interstate 5 is essentially
there's a hyphen in the middle, so thank you for yeah. County sheriffs in Multnomah are disperse a crowd at the Justice Center after police say some protesters threw bottles, rocks, and ball bearings at them, which is a waste of ball bearings, really. It's just resources, man. On June 20th,
man, you know,
right.
Just, you know, people just doing what they do.
They just don't know what they're doing. June 25th, hundreds of protesters set fires at the PPB's North Precinct in northeast Portland, while looters go for adjacent stores and then attempt to barricade doors. Police are once again forced to use the prohibited tear gas. Yep. So, black leaders then gather at the boarded-up precinct, crying and whining about the destruction of black-owned businesses and terrorism by white protesters who say they are hurting the Black Lives Matter movement.
They're not wrong.
It's true. There's a lot of very virtuous people doing what's right, but wrong things.
White people, usually.
Right. So, on the 29th, 3 days later, the protesters block traffic downtown, break windows, rip plywood off the Justice Center. But the evening ended, thankfully, without the use of the weapon of mass destruction, tear gas. Yeah. On June 30th, hundreds of protesters gather at the Peninsula Park and march to the HQ of the union representing police officers, the Portland Police Association. With police being pelted with baseball-sized rocks and other projectiles before declaring a riot and using the weapon of mass destruction, tear gas, to disperse the crowd.
By the way, I want to point out, as we're talking about this tear gas, what they're using is actually CS smoke.
Yeah.
You
looked it up, weren't you?
If I recall correctly, it's a lesser form of tear gas. It's like it's a mild irritant that you could actually theoretically like walk through, just hold your breath, close your eyes, and you'll be all right. Versus like apparently places like Chile, Venezuela, Brazil, their tear gas will fuck you up, fam.
Oh yeah.
Apparently.
That's good to know, actually, because I'm not too familiar with tear gas. I'd heard rumours there were variants, but I didn't want to, I didn't want to say it without knowing. And while I do have a chemistry background, I don't pay enough
I don't
attention.
know if it's like a new thing that we're using CS smoke or like what, but I just know that that is technically what is being used. That's why if you ever take a look, you'll notice that some articles talking about the same event will mention CS smoke or tear gas.
Okay. Okay, that's really good to know. Thank you. Let's see. Have I skipped a few? Was it in July now?
You were talking about.
Oh no, June 30th, so July 1st.
Yeah.
Federal police deployed as part of a new monument task force to protect Mark O. Hatfield Federal Courthouse and other federal property downtown. So they're there just to protect federal interests. They engage with protesters, arrest people, deploy the weapon of mass destruction, and then conduct operations blocks away from the federal buildings that they are meant to safeguard. So people are saying, obviously, you're not now doing the job you're meant to be, therefore you're doing more. Moisty Live, wonder what would happen in response to defunding the police. In response to defunding the police, went on strike. I don't know what you mean, sorry. I have to apologise. Your question makes no sense to me. Does it make sense to you, please, Trups?
I'm Whiskey Live. Wonder what would happen in response to defunding. Police went on strike.
Oh, comma, I didn't see it.
So I know that, like, in Atlanta, they literally did have I think they called it a blue flu, which means that all of them called out sick.
Right.
So that's kind of them going on strike, but not literally.
Okay.
Because honestly, unfortunately, let's say that police report they've gone on strike. Well, okay, that happened once in Canada. The amount of fucking like crime that was then committed was insane. So I think they wanted to be a little bit more conscientious about their community than to outwardly alert everybody that yes, the police, yes, we're not here right now. Can you take a message?
Say hello to... Yeah, Karma's right. They're no cops. Say hello to National Guard. I know people want to get...
True.
In the UK, if they tried to do something, they wanted something similar, reduce the police numbers, but then crime is actually going up, so actually, no. And if you don't have the police, then we turn to the very thing you'd never want patrolling our streets, and that's our military. Because they're
right.
Our military are very proud, but they're also dicks. So
but they also don't want to be doing that job.
True,
like, for
they don't.
Us, we literally can't have a military occupying our streets.
Agreed.
There are certain laws that technically prohibit that. Now, they can't do the enforcement of a law that would ordinarily be done by state officials.
Mm-hmm.
However, they can be present in order to, let's say, reinforce a barricade, provide deterrence. They can't perform any of the actual tasks done by police, but they can act as extra bodies for them to be able to conduct their business accordingly.
Yeah.
So that's how it is, at least for us. Give it time, though. You may find that's a bit fucked.
So, 3 days later, after the weapon of mass destruction is used and federal officers are conducting investigations and operations blocks away from the buildings they're meant to protect, protesters at the Justice Center and Federal Courthouse clash with police and are hit by federal officers with the weapon of mass destruction. 4 days later, at the Police Association headquarters, the union president, Daryl Turner, says the PPB needs funding for reforms such as increased community policing and body cameras. Turner also then criticised the lack of support from the city council with Chris Davis, the deputy chief, later that day giving a lengthy briefing and showing video footage of what he calls dangerous and organised attacks by protesters, and that the current cycle of clashes is not sustainable. I actually do support the idea of body cams on police officers, but mostly for evidence sake as well. Obviously for accountability, but I want it for the sake of evidence. I like that. It serves both purposes, and I love that. So I think if you're able to get that for everyone, that's great. And also then I'd be able to find out how many donuts a day a police officer eats. On July the 9th, in a police briefing, the Portland officer Jakari Jackson describes racist insults, violence, and abuse he's been subjected to by protesters outside the Justice Center. With him calling on local pastors to lead a march with officers down to this protest and show these kids what a peaceful, meaningful protest looks like. That's interesting because I saw a video, I don't know who shared it. It was of protesters circling around one of those street preachers and just shouting them down while dancing around them. It looked like they were doing a really shit, culturally appropriated rain dance. Yeah, I found that quite interesting. So, on July the 10th, a man is arrested for hitting a police officer in the head with a hammer during another protest. Classy.
Oh yeah, I remember that. The guy left the building after being basically baited out, and the guy was waiting around the door's corner and beat him with a hammer.
Thank you to the like button for the £4 donation. Love me. I appreciate that. Thank you. And the next, on July 11th, this is the one I'm really annoyed about. Police arrest a protester for shining a laser into the eyes of police. Alright, so when I was a teenager, these laser pens are very popular. Because at the end, you could put these little slides inside to make faces. But if you shined it into someone's eye, it caused damage. I know people whose eyes went milky because they no longer functioned. Because the
believe
damages.
it or not, actually, some of those officers have in fact lost vision.
Yeah, and I have no respect for these. I don't like those lasers at all. I really don't. They were popular when I was a teenager. I think they got banned here because of it. Because they're just so dangerous. And people can't be trusted. Okay. So that happened. A protester called Donovan Labella got hit with a rubber round fired by a federal agent. He suffered fractures and bleeding in his brain. It was claimed that he was just standing on the sidewalk across the street, just holding a speaker. I don't know more about that, I'm afraid.
I don't know either.
No, I don't.
But no one should be hurt. But then, at the same time,
I think context. Yeah, the context of the incident does matter. Can't really criticize if we don't fully know it. On July 12th, protesters downtown blocked traffic and set fires because they're classy bitches. The police then say someone used a slingshot to fire projectiles at federal buildings. The crowd then just dissipated on its own without the use of the weapon of mass destruction. On the 13th, the PPB arrest a 12-year-old boy for adding unspecified accelerants to a fire set on the site of the former elk statue.
Oh no! I'm mad because I know some fucking older person, like some older brother or something, gave the fucking kid, like, all I can imagine to myself is like an older brother being like, fine, you want to come with me to the protest? Fine. Here, do this.
Ah, right. Ethan, the big elf, has pointed out he was ordered to disperse and told them off. Right. That makes more sense with the guy earlier who got hit with the rubber round. Although it's not really...
Oh, well, you know. This is a lawful order by police. This has now been designated as a riot, and we would like you all to cease and desist and go home. No, fuck you! All right then, sir. Bang!
Indeed. Later that day, another group of demonstrators gather in North Portland and march to the PPA, where they block the street, and the like button donated $5 to Trups. Where's the love?
Oh, yes. Where is that love? We got 82 people watching and only 32 likes.
Thank you, the like button, for that donation. It's incredibly generous. So more protesters on 13th of July also use shining lasers in the eyes of police and throwing rocks. The police then declare a riot and arrest 5 people. On the 14th, hundreds of protesters march on the Justice Centre, set fire, set up barricades to block traffic. Police again targeted with lasers and projectiles. Crowd then dispersed on its own, but the Oregon Public Broadcasting reported that federal police are using unmarked minivans to take into custody people who have been protesting downtown. I assume it's because it's a bit more subtle than using a big van that says, "You're getting arrested."
Or something along the lines of Portland police have been ordered by their state governances to not help federal officers.
Yes, there's that too. And Psycho Mega says Trups is the one that downvoted this stream. He always does.
No,
he did.
That's a lie. Dirty lie.
He totally did.
Probably Disco.
Might have been Disco, yeah. And on the 16th, the city closes Chapman Square Park and Lonsdale Square Park near the Justice Centre, saying the closure is for repairs. The police then go on to arrest 9 people on charges of assault and interfering with police. The interim head of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security visited Portland and issued a statement complaining, understandably, about the chaos, property destruction, and violent anarchists, with then hundreds marching on the police bureau's southeast precinct, with the police being pelted with rocks, sticks, and more laser beams. Police arrest 20 people. Those lasers, I really don't... I'm not saying ban them, but fuck me. It's so dangerous. And it's such a shit way to deal with people. Oh, I don't like you, mate. I don't agree with what you do. And just shine this in your eye. On July 17th, Wheeler holds a press conference to call on the federal police to leave town. U.S. Attorney Williams launches an investigation of the federal police. The city commissioner Joe Ann Hardesty holds a vigil outside the Justice Center, condemning the federal presence to protecting federal buildings, and urges attendees to engage in peaceful protest, which then led on to the police getting targeted once again with projectiles, which forced the federal officers to disperse the crowd with riot munitions and the dreaded weapon of mass destruction. How cucked are the Oregon like high ups? I mean, in the sense that just
yes, they actually. So some of the people who have gotten arrested earlier on, actually, the jury refused to indict them.
Oh, fuck's sake.
So the jury of their peers said that some of these protesters did nothing wrong.
Lol. Doubt. On the 18th, because of a clash the night before, Hardesty issued a public statement aimed at Wheeler, expressing an interest in becoming police commissioner, saying that if you can't control the police, give me the Portland Police Bureau. A crowd marched on the PPA and break in, set fire to the building before the police engage to end the gathering by using the weapon of mass destruction. It's okay, I've got 3 more dates left. We've got this. On the 19th, hundreds of people block traffic downtown, pull down a fence erected around the federal courthouse, and set a fire. Police then, federal police, dispersed the crowd. Do you know how they did that, Trups?
Was it with the weapon of mass destruction?
Ding, 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 ding. 10 points to your respective Hogwarts house.
Yeah, go Slytherin.
Woohoo. On the 20th, Wheeler announces that he's not giving oversight to the PPB to Hardesty. Thousands of people, including a wall, air quotes here, wall of mums, flocked to the federal courthouse to protest Trump and the federal police activities. Hundreds remain in the evening, and some use hammers and tools to remove the plywood on the west side of the building, then break a window. Fires are set, and jewelry stores get broken into. Those mums really taught their kids well. Windows are broken at the City Hall, and federal police use, yes, they did, the weapon of mass destruction to attempt to disperse the crowd. And finally, on July 21st, so yes, we've got a few days we've got missing here, federal officers defend their actions in Portland and report 43 arrests. Hardesty announces a ballot measure to heighten civilian police oversight, saying she will continue pressing the head pressing to head the police bureau. Thousands then, including the Wall of Mums, returned to the federal courthouse, and they set fires, and some tried to break into the building. And while the Portland police did not engage, the federal police repeatedly used tear gas. What I like here is a Wall of Mums go to that federal courthouse. They are there when fires are set, and what they stand a bit like, oh, it's just a little bonfire, mate. It's all right. My son's doing all right. He's just trying to keep his hands warm. That was the last one I've got so far. I don't know what's happened the last couple of days. I do apologise. Wheeler. I know.
Probably more of the same, honestly.
I know that Wheeler was in one of the crowds. So there's a picture of him on the screen now as I'm saying this. He was in one of the crowds that got hit with tear gas.
Yeah. Okay. So fun story about that moment. Originally, he was in the crowd, and when he first showed up, they were not necessarily happy to see him.
Shocker.
And then when he said something about, like, defending against racist cops, they were like, yeah! And then he got to sit there and enjoy the fruits of his comments as they proceeded to burn his city.
Yeah, it's quite nice to, cuck out to the very people who would want to destroy the city you are the custodian of. Your job is to protect that city like the police, and while they might themselves have failed the city to an extent, you don't then give legitimacy to others to destroy property as a means to, I don't know, set some kind of standard or a wheel in motion to then rebuild the city from the ruin that's left behind. That's not how this works.
Don't worry. He got the photo up in.
He certainly did. I'd like to see the photo of him after he got tear gassed. Or,
I'm sure
as his security bundled him into a car to get him out of there. Because I'm sure they did that too.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
So what's your view on all this then, Trups?
I am so sick of how the media has been covering it, because it's not even, like, kind of fucked. So, by the way, if you ever see anything that is labeled a protest, and it involves burning buildings, sorry to tell you, that's not a protest anymore, that is a riot.
Is it?
That's a very unpopular opinion, apparently, because that kind of sentiment apparently is not appreciated by the swaths of media cucks that like burning black buildings. And when I say burning black buildings, I'm more or less referring to what happened in Minnesota, when people basically burned low-income housing, black-owned businesses, and several issues along those lines.
Yeah.
So, I am not necessarily doubting that these moments right now aren't similarly targeting... Well, actually, I should recap that. The majority of these riots in Portland are happening around the federal courthouse.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't know about the owned businesses that have been looted in the last 2 months. Now, unfortunately, you'll find that, as one of the police chiefs had mentioned, the amount of racism that they then get when they are present, the police chief is a black man. I see more instances of racism coming from the allegedly anti-racist group, basically trying to say, no, we're fighting the good fight, and then calling them Uncle Toms or coons to their face. I'm sorry, you're not playing this game anymore. You've switched sides, and you don't even know it.
There's actually a video of an Oxford student here, a black female, and it went kind of viral because there was a black man opposite her. He disagreed with her Black Lives Matter views, and she went on to call him a coon and get incredibly triggered by 2 words. because he said something, and you might recognize this meme. He said, "Okay, dude." Are you familiar with this meme?
Kind of.
It's the one where Zuby got suspended from Twitter for saying "Okay, dude" to someone. That's all he said, and she got triggered beyond belief and started calling him a coon. And I'm like, that's not acceptable. You really shouldn't. She isn't. And when he pointed out that that's racially incensed and rude and racist, she says, "How can I be when I'm saying it to another brother?" That's no.
That's not how this works.
No, that's really not how it works. You are already devaluing him by race because you cannot abide the fact that he disagrees with you fundamentally on your perception of race.
Now, similar issues. A man just was killed. I believe it was last night or today. Hang on. He was a black Trump supporter, and Burnell Trammell. Yeah, Burnell Trammell. He was an old black man who supported Trump and gave a pro-Trump interview, and then proceeded to get shot.
Oh no.
The guy was 60 years old, and he was known for carrying handmade signs through the streets reading "Vote Donald Trump." He was gunned down by an unknown assailant on his sidewalk Thursday afternoon, police said.
Yeah.
Remember what their protest name was called?
Oh jeez.
Oh God.
Oh
It's
no.
hard. It's hard to remember when they do such a good job following suit. Oh
no.
God. What's the word? Fucking. Oh yeah. Black Lives Matter. What about the ones that disagree with you? What about the cops?
Oh,
Not
dear.
those, huh? You don't like those, do you? No, you call them racial slurs to their face.
Oh,
You
dear.
threaten their families. You burn down their places of business.
Oh,
yeah,
dear.
you guys are on the high ground here, aren't you?
You know, there is a moral high ground, and they are so close to it. And by that I mean nowhere near it.
But this is the current state of the painful irony. And the only reason I even call it painful irony is because they believe themselves to be such good people that they don't realize that they've literally become everything they're fighting against. Like, I know that we've talked about it in the past, like, oh, Antifa is actually using fascist tactics to do whatever and, like, you know, stop people whose opinions they don't agree with and all that. But, like, this is pretty fucked. Not gonna lie. When you take a man who is trying to feed his family and he does a job, and that job happens to be policing, that does not mean that you get to do terrible things to him because he's a cop. He's a man in which you believe that you are fighting for by virtue of his skin color. Bullshit. Bullshit. And yeah, no, the media won't mention it. I'm sure that the let's see, what glorious fucking news agency did I have to pull up in order to find this thing about Burnell Trammell? Because I typed in originally was it black man shot? Black man killed. And the first thing that came up was a black man was tortured and killed in Denmark, an article from June 30th, 2020. And then July 1st, Denmark. And July 10th, protesters berate police after Detroit officers shoot and kill a man. July 3rd. And then I had to do it Trump supporter.
Yeah.
And oh, there it is. New York Post, 5 hours ago. Black Trump supporter Burnell Trammell shot dead. Damn. And then I see it says Daily Mail has an hour, 7 hours ago, reporting on it,
Okay.
and Fox News. Oh, I don't see a single CNN, MSNBC, ABC News, The Guardian for that matter.
Before you
So I guess we
continue,
just don't care, right?
Billy Subsgrant, thank you very much for becoming a member of the Moistonian middle class.
Oh, thank you very much for joining us.
Yes.
Um,
What do you think is going to happen in Portland? Do you think there'll be a shift, a real change, or do you think they're just going to keep cucking out?
oh, I have no idea. So it's kind of a very interesting circumstance because you've got a couple of interesting players going on, right?
Yeah.
You've got Trump and the federal government basically saying, "No, I'm sorry, you can't do this,"
Mm-hmm.
and they're trying to protect federal property. Of which, by the way, if the rioters just stopped showing up to federal property, I guarantee you there would be a lot less "quote unquote" police violence to deal with.
I think they're doing it on purpose because they now know where to get the reaction from, to then play the
Yeah.
victim even more. And I think that's a really dangerous game to play with the federal government.
Well, even more so. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Oh, and Socky, thank you
You're
for becoming
playing a very, very stupid game.
Thank you, Socky, for becoming a member of the Moistonian peasantry. That's very generous of you.
See what you did there.
No, it says it literally says it on the screen.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. New member Billy was a Moistonian middle class, and Socky is peasantry. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Is there anything else with this subject? Do you think worth addressing, or?
Well, okay. So what I was saying before was with with like the players that are involved, you have the federal government, but you also have local leaders.
Yes.
Basically saying, "Hey, look, we kind of we kind of don't want our city to be on fire.
Yeah.
We would like it if we could have a little less of that."
I think it's a reasonable thing to want.
Oh, I think so too. I think they're being quite reasonable about it.
I agree.
However, they're not being appreciated for that.
Actually,
I know.
There was something you mentioned before the stream, an argument you'd had with somebody concerning this. Do you want to talk about that?
So yeah. So recently, the state had filed a lawsuit against the federal government because of the ongoing riots and what they deem to be. So I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I know that I have. There's been a whole bunch of people going out and saying that the Gestapo, Trump's secret police, has been showing up and whisking people from the street in unmarked vans, as we had talked about earlier.
Yes.
Fun story about that.
Okay.
These unidentifiable police have police written across their chest, and they have badges and badge numbers on their arms.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not exactly unidentifiable, secret police. They're actually just the feds. And the issue that a lot took with it was because they were basically being whisked off, and the police are not identifying themselves. They are not saying, okay, you are under arrest for X, Y, or Z. They're just taking people off the street, which the argument then becomes, okay, well, what is their probable cause to arrest this person? I mean, you're present at a riot. Seems pretty good to me.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't think it's good enough, but I do. And the guy who got detained, one of the people, was detained for, I think, 10, 20 minutes, and then was released.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, they detained him to ask him questions and then let him go. Because they can't hold you. it's illegal to arrest you without that. So they just asked him questions and then let him go.
Yeah.
Apparently that's bad.
It does sound bad, to be fair.
I mean, it sounds bad, but then you remember what like they're fighting against, and you're like, oh right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So maybe don't give them a reason. Like a lot of people like, okay, that argument gets a little hairy, and a lot of people don't like that argument because it's like, okay, don't do anything wrong. Well, Breonna Taylor didn't do anything wrong, and she still got shot in her bed. Yeah, true, fair enough. But we can't necessarily say that, okay, well, this person was treated unfairly, so this conversation no longer can take in any other considerations except this one because that person was not treated well. Yes, okay. And the vast majority of times where you interact with a police officer, if you don't do anything wrong, you don't have a reasonable expectation to be arrested.
Yeah.
There are the instances where, yes, police are bad people. Not all police, but sometimes they do the dumb. We usually hear about those pretty well. We hear, like, the media is pretty on point with informing us of when there are bad people.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, you really don't have to worry. Like, if you're speeding down the highway, yeah, expect to be pulled over, perhaps. If you're not speeding down the highway, there may be no reason why a police officer will pull you over. I mean, there might be that you don't know about. Tail light, registration expired. But other than that, for the most part, you're probably not going to be engaged with the police in a negative fashion. So, with that in mind, if you don't show up to a riot or a protest, and then when they say, hey guys, protest, please go home, before it turns into a riot, and you're like, nah man, fuck you. And then they're like, okay. And they hang out, and then they start arresting people. What the fuck did you expect? Like, the fact that I have to be careful with how I word that is in itself fucking bonkers, because this shouldn't be like a fucking weird concept for people. Like, what do you mean if I'm at a peaceful protest? What do you mean I could get arrested? I mean, do you have a permit for your protest?
Do you have a license for that?
Mm-hmm. You guys know all about that, right?
Yeah, we have licenses for everything, mate.
Yeah, no. We also have permits, especially when it like occupies public areas. Just you're asking for it. Okay? Don't show up. Go home. I'll tell you, I haven't been to a single protest. I haven't had a single cop knock on my fucking door.
No?
No, not once. And you know what? I have 4 living in this apartment complex with me. I'm pretty sure the guy who lives down the breezeway from me who sells drugs also. He's not been to a protest and no cops knocked on his door and he does illegal shit. So I think he's good too. Weird, right? Fucking like crazy. No one could have expected this. Portland has been rioting for 7 weeks. Yeah, I believe we're on like day 58 or something.
Really?
Yeah. No, it's bad. Like,
is it considered rioting once we go? It's like a part of their daily life now. Surely it's just a part of the Portland cultural fabric to be a little bitch.
So the joke I heard at one point was that if there were going to be protests or the dismantling of like a system, it was gonna happen in fucking Portland.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's a good thing, but like, yeah, that's fair. Oh man, no, I'm so sick of all this bullshit, man. I'm sick of it because
Yeah.
the media won't report on it well. Your pundits will tell you that everything's gone wrong, everything's going to shit, and I'm fucking so sick of it.
That's understandable. This is quite a frustrating
Mhm.
week, I think.
Yeah, it really is.
Is there anything else you'd like to add to this week's
I
political
don't I
recap?
don't know if there's necessarily anything else that I could add. Basically, if I had to give my advice, stop assaulting a federal courthouse. Maybe the federal government will go away. If you aren't a threat, they won't be there. They won't have a legal reason to be there. The longer you give them a reason to be there, they'll keep showing up.
It's pretty
Food for
sensible.
thought.
It is food for thought. Well, I have nothing to shill myself.
How do I?
No, well, you should all go subscribe to Trups anyway if you haven't already. It does make good content. I make rubbish content, so go subscribe to him
What do you
instead.
mean? I base all my shit off you. I'm your clone after all, just
I
blacker.
Is that why I almost called my opinion series "Food for Thought"?
Okay, I think that was just an accident.
It was, to be fair. I genuinely didn't think, and when I went to post it, I was like, "Hang on a second, I've seen this somewhere before."
I've seen this title. I
Yeah.
can't do that.
No,
No.
can't do that. Sad face. Okay, opinion it is because I can't think of anything more creative.
Right.
Uh,
No. But that's about it that I have here.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Karma makes a very good point there. Careful. Corona still exists.
Oh yeah, you guys are having a second wave going, aren't you? As well, it's getting worse. I can't imagine
Well,
why.
I mean, in terms of fucking testing, yeah. I mean, when you test more, you're gonna find out more people have it.
Yeah.
But I had a discussion with my doctor because I went to go see him the other day, and in terms of like schools reopening and stuff, the comment that he made were, um, he said as himself, "I have been on a COVID floor of a hospital every day since this began." Um, Doctors, police officers, fire, pharmacists, grocers, they've all been putting their lives on the line at the worst part about this during this pandemic. Teachers, now it's your turn to pull your weight. We've been doing it. Now it's your turn. And I laughed at that because I thought about like my family and like the fact that I have teachers in my family, and I'm thinking, yeah, I think actually they're saying that to themselves too.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Oh God.
I think we're done here today, by the way.
Yep. Yes. Thank you all for joining us on this singular focused political recap. We shall see you back next week at the usual time. And say goodnight, Meg.
Good night.
Good night.